Hello and welcome to my channel. In this video we will be looking at AQA Alevel Psychology 2017 Paper 1 Exemplar Answers for Social Influence, which you need to know for AQA Alevel Psychology. I hope you enjoy this video and find it helpful. Let's get started. Please note that these answers have been produced with knowledge of the mark scheme but have not been approved by the mark scheme themselves. There are 3 assessment objectives, AOs, in psychology. In this video they are color-coded. AO1 Knowledge, purple. AO2 Application, blue. AO3 Evaluation, red and green. In an experiment, researchers arranged for participants to complete a very personal and embarrassing questionnaire in a room with other people. Each participant was tested individually. The other people were confederates of the experimenter. In Condition 1, the confederates completed the questionnaire. In Condition 2, the confederates refused to complete the questionnaire and asked to leave the experiment. The researchers tested 15 participants in Condition 1 and 15 different participants in Condition 2. The researchers recorded the number of participants who completed the questionnaire in each condition. Question 1. Identify the type of data in this experiment. Explain your answer. 2 marks. The type of data in this experiment is primary data because it is original data obtained and collected directly first-hand from the participants by the researcher themselves, specifically for the purpose of the investigation being carried out, without relying on previously collected data. Question 2. Using your knowledge of social influence, explain the likely outcome of this experiment. 3 marks. The likely outcome is that more participants in Condition 1 will complete the questionnaire than in Condition 2 because participants in Condition 1 will follow the majority to avoid rejection and fit in, and participants in Condition 2 will experience social support with a disobedient role model and, so are more likely to defy the researchers. Question 3. For this study, the researchers had to use different participants in each condition, and this could have affected the results. Outline one way in which the researchers could have addressed this issue. 4 marks. One way in which the researchers could have addressed this issue is by using random allocation. Each participant is assigned a number or identified by name. The numbers or names are placed into a random number generator. The first 15 participants are assigned to Condition 1 and the next 15 are assigned to Condition 2. In order to analyze the difference in the number of participants who completed the questionnaire in each condition, the researchers used a chi-squared test. Question 4. Apart from reference to the level of measurement, give 2 reasons why the researchers used the chi-squared test. 2 marks. The design is independent groups and the researcher is looking for a difference between 2 conditions. The calculated value of chi-squared in the experiment described previously is 3.97. Table 1. Critical values for the chi-squared test. The calculated value of chi-squared should be equal to or greater than the critical value to be statistically significant. Question 5. With reference to the critical values in Table 1, explain whether or not the calculated value of chi-squared is significant at the 5% level. 2 marks. The value of chi-squared is significant at the 5% level because the observed value, 3.97, is more than and exceeds the critical value of 3.84 at 5% level. Question 6. Discuss the authoritarian personality as an explanation for obedience. 8 marks. The authoritarian personality is a dispositional explanation proposed by Theodore Adorno, 1950. It suggests obedient behavior is caused by internal traits, characteristics, and dispositions of the individual such as personality type, rather than external situational factors. This collection of traits and dispositions are developed in childhood from strict, harsh, and rigid parenting. This creates resentment within the child as they grow up and, since they cannot express it at the time, their feelings are displaced onto others who are seen as weak or inferior. People who have an authoritarian personality are harsh, hostile, and dominate towards people of perceived lower status, scapegoating, conformist, conventional, dogmatic, respectful towards people of perceived authority and obedient, servile towards people of perceived higher status. Adorno, 1950, conducted a study to investigate the authoritarian personality, aiming to understand the characteristics and tendencies associated with individuals who display authoritarian behaviors and attitudes. Adorno studied over 2,000 American students from mainly white, middle-class backgrounds. He interviewed them about their political views and their early childhood experiences. He also used projective tests, neutral stimuli as pictures that could be used to gain access to people's thoughts, to assess whether or not they were racially prejudiced. Adorno found that people who had been brought up by strict parents who used harsh, physical punishments when they were children often grew up to be very obedient. Under these conditions, children quickly learn to obey and develop a strong respect for authority. Adorno drew on Freud's ideas about the unconscious mind to build his explanation, arguing that harsh and physical punishment led to the child feeling hostile and angry towards their parents. This hostility was uncomfortable for the child and created feelings of conflict, so it might be repressed or locked away into the unconscious mind. The child then displaces these hostile feelings onto others, often of a different racial group, which then became an alternative target for their hostility. From his research, Adorno developed a number of scales to measure aspects of behavior and attitudes, including ethnocentrism, the preference for one's own racial group, antisemitism, prejudice against Jewish people, and, most famously, the potential for fascism, which has become known as the F-scale. The F-scale measures the authoritarian personality and is comprised of 30 questions assessing 9 personality dimensions. A strength of the authoritarian personality is that there is research to support the link between authoritarian personality and obedience. Elms and Milgram, 1966, interviewed participants who went to 450V. They all completed the F-scale as part of the interview. These 20 participants scored significantly higher on the overall F-scale than a comparison group of 20 disobedient participants. The two groups were clearly quite different in terms of authoritarianism. Those who were more obedient also reported being more distant to their fathers during their childhood, which supports the possibility of the authoritarian personality having been learnt through social modeling. This is a strength because it suggests that there is a strong link between authoritarian personality traits and obedience levels. The study's findings provide evidence of how individuals with higher authoritarian tendencies tend to exhibit greater obedience to authority figures, reinforcing the theory's premise regarding the relationship between authoritarianism and obedience. However, when the researchers analyzed the individual subscales of the F-scale, they found that the obedient participants had a number of characteristics that were unusual for authoritarians. For example, unlike authoritarians, Milgram's obedient participants did not generally glorify their fathers, did not experience unusual levels of punishment in childhood, and did not have particularly hostile attitudes towards their mothers. This limitation because it challenges the conventional understanding by indicating that the characteristics exhibited by obedient participants in Milgram's study deviate from the expected traits of authoritarians. The absence of typical authoritarian attributes like glorifying fathers, experiencing childhood punishment, and harboring hostile attitudes towards mothers among the obedient participants highlights the complexity and variability within personality traits, suggesting that the link between authoritarianism and obedience may not be as straightforward as previously thought. Question 7. Outline one alternative explanation for obedience. 3 marks. Agentic state suggests people are socialized from a very young age to obey and follow the rules of society, and this involves giving up some free will and autonomy. When an individual feels they have complete control and are free and independent, they are autonomous and see themselves responsible for their own actions. They are aware of the consequences of their actions and choose voluntarily to behave in certain ways. However, when an individual obeys an authority figure, they go through an agent-if shift and enter the agentic state where they no longer see themselves as responsible for their own behavior and actions but an agent of the authority figure, who has greater power because of their position in social hierarchy, whose orders they are following. An agent is not emotionless, they feel high anxiety, moral strain, when they realize that what they are doing is wrong but feel powerless to disobey. In these individuals' eyes, they see the authority figure as responsible for their consequences and they become de-individuated and therefore do not feel any guilt or personal responsibility. People may enter the agentic state because normally the concern around maintaining a positive self-image restricts behavior. However, the fact that responsibility shifts to the authority figure means the perception of self is no longer relevant. Thank you for watching. If you have enjoyed this video, please like and subscribe for more content like this. Bye.